What is going on, everybody? We are live. What is up? Let's see here. All right, I don't got time for this. What's going on? What's going on, everybody? We are live. Welcome in. We're just getting started this evening. We've been doing some debates over the last couple of live streams. So I figure tonight we'll keep it tame and we will hold a Q&A. So no debates this evening. We're just going to hold a Q&A. So if you have any questions about esotericism, occultism, magic, witchcraft, sorcery, anything like that, please do put the questions in the chat and I'll do my best to answer them. Welcome in. We're just getting started this evening. We're just getting started here. Welcome. What's going on? Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. We're just getting started here. We've been doing debates over the last couple days. Figure tonight we will keep it tame and just do a Q&A. I am an initiated occultist. I have 21 years of experience within the occult. And if you have any questions about esotericism, mysticism, occultism, magic, witchcraft, sorcery, divination, anything like that, go ahead and put your questions in the chat and I'll do my best to answer them. We're going to keep it light this evening. We've been holding debates over the last few days, but tonight we're going to keep it light. So if you have any questions about magic, occultism, spirits, anything like that, feel free to put your questions in the chat. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. What's going on? Welcome in. What do you think of chaos magic as compared to more standard hermetic base ideas? Well, hermetic magic would be, if we're going to compare it against chaos magic, hermetic based magic would be pretty dogmatic, whereas chaos magic would not be in any sense unless you need dogmatism for like that specific instance. Outside of that, I would say hermetic magic would probably be a bit more dogmatic and so therefore would have more strict rules than chaos magic would, where you're kind of free form to kind of do whatever you want to do and go from there. Whereas hermeticism has a pretty standard foundation, and it doesn't really deviate from that. Now you can build on that how you please, but well, not really how you please, but it would still be a bit more rigid than any sort of chaos system or chaosophic system, I guess would be the proper way to state that. Any book recommendations for new witches? Yes, I have quite a few. I would say start with. Okay, so I'm going to throw out books from different systems and traditions because I have no idea what you're interested in. So rather than just name books from just like the things that I do, I'll name books that I have read and are good for beginners, but run the gamut when it comes to systems and traditions. So I would recommend Donald Michael Craig's Modern Magic. the 12 lessons, not the 11 lessons. I mean, you can get 11 lessons if you want, but then you're going to be missing the 12th. So the 12 lessons is a good starter book. I would say Gareth Knight's Occult Exercises and Practices is a good beginner book. I would say Robin Artisan's Letters from the Devil's Forest is a good beginner book, especially if you don't get anything out of that book. It's either chapter 19 or 20. It's been a while since I read it, but it's either 19 or 20. The chapter entitled Letter to My Former Self or Letter to My Child Self or something like that, where it's Robin in modern day talking to baby witch or new witch or beginner witch Robin. I think the advice in that chapter is top notch for anybody who is venturing down the path of magic, but more specifically witchcraft, and in his case, traditional witchcraft, but any sort of magical path. So Robin Artisan's Letters from the Devil's Forest is pretty good. Stephen Skinner and David Rand, Stephen Skinner and Francis King's Techniques of High Magic is really good. Maya Ohm's Energy Essentials for Spellcasters and Witches and her Unspell book is really good. Let's see. Delumin Ra and his Hoodoo Graveyard Sorcery is really, really good. You don't have to use it for the cemetery stuff. I know you're, just starting out, but for the ancestor work, it has some excellent information in there. You could check that out. Craft of the Untamed by Nicolaj de Matos Frisvold is a really good one. Beginner. Let's see. Well, I'm sure everyone's already recommended this to you. I try to stay away from the mainstream stuff, but Matt Oren and his Psychic Witch and Mastering Magic is really good to start out with. Let's see. That's all I can think of off the top of my head for beginner stuff. Yeah, that's all I can think of off the top of my head for beginner stuff. Hi, do you only have one account? I have two accounts. I have my main account here and my backup account. But if it's someone pretending to be my backup account, I would pay attention to the name in the at field, not just the name that is displayed, but when you at them, what name shows up, because mine should still be the Mystical Rebel too. So there should be no other name in the at thingy when you if you were going to tag my second account in a video or something. So is putting blood in someone's food magic? It can be. I mean, not just by itself. By itself, it's just disgusting. But yeah, putting blood or any other bodily fluids in someone's food can be a way to enchant someone. But you have to know what you're doing. It's just not putting your blood in there. That doesn't, that by itself wouldn't do anything. You would have to ensorcel or somehow enchant the blood or whatever you're, using, spit, and other bodily fluids. Is it normal for other aspects of your life to fall apart when working with chaos magic? I really can't say. I don't work chaos magic. I'm not really a fan of chaos magic. But I would say that the only reason in any form of magic that I've ever practiced, if you had any kind of fallout, it's usually because you either didn't cleanse and banish afterwards. So there's residual energies, I guess, hanging around that can sort of become chaotic and can kind of wreck things. So you may want to maybe cleanse and banish and maybe invoke some benefic energies, light some Palo Santo, maybe, do like an adjuration of Metatron or something like that, maybe a greater calling of the sevens or something like that, and, banish and cleanse and then invoke a positive energy into your life. But I can't say specifically for chaos magic. I don't work or haven't really worked chaos magic other than sigils. Of course, everyone, does sigil, magic, but I haven't like dove deep into Phil Hines stuff or, Libra Null and Psychonaut and all those things when it comes to the practice. Hey there, I'm about to go live too. Let me boost you with some double taps for. Hey, thank you very much, Jen. Thank you very much. And have a great live. Have a great live stream whenever you do go live. Thanks for showing up and showing some love. I wish I could do the same. If you're still live by the time I get off, I'll be sure to stop by your live stream and give you some taps. That sounds crazy. I mean, give you some likes. That sounds crazy. The Magician is a fire book. I've not heard of that, but I will check it out. The Magician spelled with Kian. Okay, I will check that out. What's the best way to protect yourself against voodoo? You would have to speak to someone who practices the ATRs or the ADRs. They're some of the most powerful systems. I don't practice. I mean, I do hoodoo, but I mean that's kind of near the lower end. I'm not trying to be mean to hoodoo or anything, but that's kind of near the lower end. When you compare it to like Kimbanda or Obea or Vendéon de Vision or something like that, hoodoo is like, middle school compared to those PhD level stuff. So I would speak to somebody who is initiated into the ATRs or the ADRs. I can point you in the right direction to some people. I know these people personally. I'll stay away from one of them. He's involved in a scandal right now with his voodoo house down in Florida. So I'm not going to name him. But you can look into Conjure Man Ali. Google Conjure Man Ali. I believe he's part of the House of Kimbanda. Last I checked, he was one of the Kimbanderos at the House of Kimbanda. So you can check out Conjure Man Ali. You can check out Brother Moloch at Moloch Sorcery. You can look into Angelo's Cardoman. No, Angelo. I always do that. Angelo, because he doesn't speak English well. English is a second language. Angelo, not Angelo's. Angelo Cardomancy. He used to be a student of mine, Angelo, and then he decided to go the voodoo way. He decided that Grimtrad wasn't for him, and he went the voodoo way. But his website is angelocardomancy.com. You can tell him the God King sent you. He does not know me as the Mystical Rebel. He knows me as the God King from way back in the day. And he'll know who I am. But yeah, he's an initiate of voodoo. You can speak with him. And yeah, that's it. The other guy is a voodoo, but he's involved in a scandal right now. So I don't want you to, reach out to him. No offense to him, but you probably wouldn't give him your business anyway if you Googled him and the scandal came up. So, yeah, check out those other guys. They should be able to help you out. And you can let them know that the God King, because that was my name back during my forum days, that the God King sent them or sent you. What type of talent do you have? What do you mean by that? What type of talent do I have? How can one learn true Hermeticism? What is another option other than the Corpus Hermeticum? Well, the Corpus Hermeticum is true Hermeticism. You wouldn't get any truer than that. There are additional books, but there's nothing else. There's only one true Hermeticism. It's not like, Christianity or anything like that where there's 1,000 different versions of, the same book. There is only the Corpus Hermeticum, and it's like the Divine Pymander or Asclepius or on initiations or some of the fragments, the definitions, the Virgin of the World, the Emerald Tablet, the modern papyrus of Abaris. These are other or additional Hermetic texts, but there's nothing like other than the Corpus Hermeticum. The Magus, the Ars Goetia, Malus Maleficarum. Kidding. Yeah, I was going to say I would not recommend even the Magus. I wouldn't recommend that for a beginner. I would not recommend that for a beginner. How do you cleanse and banish? Well, hopefully you heard the instructions I gave, or the suggestions. I wouldn't say instructions. The suggestions. You're all free to do as you will. But the suggestions I gave to whomever asked earlier about the chaos magic stuff. You can do things like the adoration of Metatron, the calling and the greater calling of the sevens. There's the lesser benediction ritual, the pentagram, the star ruby, star sapphire, things like that. You can do a head wash if you don't want to do like a whole banishing ritual. You can do a head wash. You can either Google a head wash or you can send me an email on my website, themysticrebel.com, and I can send you one, no charge or anything like that. And you can use that. Yeah, those are the ways that I cleanse. I don't really use any other method other than either a banishing ritual or a cleansing head wash. You're just saying words, bro. Yeah, so are you. That's how you speak. What do you think of the Yoruban traditions? Well, I don't practice any of them, but they would be part of the ATRs, so they would be part of some of the most powerful systems in the world. How can you not definitely prove this isn't a placebo situation? That doesn't make any sense. Do you mean how can I prove this is definitely not a placebo situation? I can't, right? The problem with what you're asking is that you want me to show you physically something spiritual, and that's not how it works. Occultism is experiential. It's not a spectator sport. You have to engage in it, right? You might not like that answer, but unfortunately, I can't show it to you. Like I can show you my Ferrari, or I can show you my girlfriend, or something like that. I can't show you something spiritual. A Ferrari, my girlfriend, those things are physical. Occultism and virtually all of spirituality is spiritual. So I would not be able to show you anything spiritual physically. You would have to engage in it yourself. In what were you initiated? The Elderwood tradition of witchcraft. I just started reading the Angel book from Joffrey James. I'm loving it so far. Awesome. Angel magic. Yes. Awesome. Awesome. I hope you're learning a lot about the reality of angels and what they really do and how they really interact with humans and what their jobs really are. So when you hear these New Agers saying things like, oh, I'm channeling Michael, you should, okay, maybe it doesn't talk about the angels in that way. Like it doesn't give you descriptions and that kind of thing. It's not like a grimoire, but you should be well equipped to know where to go and find information about Michael. So that way you can validate if these New Agers are actually channeling Michael, because we should get our information about the spirits or beings or whatever from the culture that they come from, right? A couple of days ago, I had a live stream where I was doing debates, and I had a bunch of topics up from the New Age and the paranormal side of things. And someone had come up and was asking about my channeling one, because I was saying how most claims of channeling are fake, right? They're not actually channeling anything. And she came up and she was very upset, of course, because I was telling her that she's wrong. So she was very upset. And so I had asked her, I was like, okay, so who is Ganesh, right? Or Ganesha, however you want to say it. Who is that? And she said exactly who he is. He's the deity of removing obstacles and good luck and all that. Okay. I was like, okay, good. And how do we know that? She was like, well, that's what the Hindus teach. And I was like, exactly. That's what the Hindus teach. We don't go and get our information about Ganesh from the Aztecs, or we don't just make up however we feel. I said, if I claimed right now that I channeled Ganesh, and Ganesh told me that he's the Lord of the Dead, and he flies in the sky on a magic carpet, and he lives deep in the caves, and he eats the hearts of children, you would go, no, that's not what Ganesh is. I don't care what you channel. That's not what Ganesh is. According to the Hindus, this is who Ganesh is. Well, if I can't do that with Ganesh, why can you do it with Michael or any other angel, right? Why would they just be able to make up whatever they want about Michael or about Metatron or Uriel or Raphael or Gabriel or Sandalphon or whatever? Why do they just get to, oh, well, Michael is the angel of peace and love? No, he's not. No, he's not. Not according to the Chaldeans, which is his true origin, and not according to the Jews who adopted him, and the Christians who adopted him, and the Muslims who adopted him. Not according to the cultures he comes from. He's not the angel of peace and mercy, right? And you are going to be well equipped to be able to dive into a conversation like that when New Agers try to present to you that they are channeling these angelic beings. So I hope you're enjoying Joffrey James's Angel Magic. I recommend everyone read it. My husband is from South Africa, or excuse me, is from Africa, and since we've been married, we have had a lot of trouble. Well, I would get a reading done. His ex practices. Okay. Well, I would get a reading done. You can. I'm sure your husband can do them. Maybe. I mean, I don't want to assume just because he's African he does magic. But if his ex practices, he probably knows something. Or maybe he would know where to go. Maybe he knows what to look for. When it comes to finding someone. Or you can just look online and do your research and find someone that you trust to do it, and go from there. I wouldn't just automatically assume it's a curse or something like that. It very well could be, but you don't want to just assume. So you should get a reading done to determine if it is a curse. Excuse me, and if it is a curse, then you would go from there on how to undo it. Usually the practitioner who did the reading should be able to help you undo it. Or if they can't, they should be able to point you in the right direction of someone who can. Connect me to an alchemist. I'm interested in oils. Yeah, Alchemic Mason. I actually go live with him every Wednesday. So tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Alchemic Mason and I go live and we talk about Hermeticism. Because not only is he an alchemist and a Mason, a Freemason, hence the name Alchemic Mason, he's also a practicing Hermeticist like me. So we came together and we go live every Wednesday at 9 p.m. to discuss Hermeticism. We read from the Corpus, which we already lectured through that entire text, and now we're on Hermetica 2. Yes, take a look at Alchemic Mason's page. Also, Ex Ludo, hold on, I don't know their full name. And sorry if you're in here right now, I don't know your full name. I always just know you as Ex Ludo. Let me go into the Discord, into the alchemy section. Ex Ludo Lucem. Ex Ludo Lucem is an alchemist as well. And both of those gentlemen follow me. So you should be able to look up their pages, or you can just join the Discord, right? You can join my Discord, and there's an alchemy section in there. Both Alchemic Mason and Ex Ludo are highly active in there. So you should have no issue getting assistance with alchemy. You must repent. Jesus will judge you. Wow, that's kind of terrible. But thank you for letting me know. You will die if you don't repent. Really? Satan will claim your soul. All right. Well, thanks. Thanks for the warning. You've done your job. You warned us all. Now you can move on, good shepherd. You've completed your side of the deal with your contract with this new covenant that Jesus, instituted when he came and did away with the old laws from the Old Testament, right? You went out and you preached the gospel. We've received the word. Now it is up to us to determine if we would like to follow or not. You've done your job. You can now move on, because if you continue, then you'd be doing harassment, which I believe would be a sin. Would you like to sin? Are you going to engage in sin, my friend, or would you like to just move on? Because you've done your job. You've given us the word. You've given us the good news. You've knocked on our doors. You've stood there with your tie and Bible in hand and said, would you like to hear the good news of Jesus Christ? Now, we slammed our door in your face, but you've done your part. Now, move along. Go on to the next neighbor. Go on to the next neighbor. I know the Corpus Hermeticum is a soul text. I was asking for sources to learn more deeper. Okay, well, hopefully you heard the other texts, or the other texts that I gave out on Hermeticism. Can you share what you know on Lemuria, please, brother? I don't know anything on Lemuria. That's a New Age thing. Do you believe in extraterrestrials? Yes, I do believe in life outside of this planet, but I do not believe they are contacting anybody on Earth that isn't powerful. I don't think that they're contacting, Big Bob 17 or Psychic Girl 101. If they're contacting anybody, it would be the people who have spaceships, who are going into space, or it would be like world leaders, right? People who they can, negotiate with or whatever. It wouldn't be Jessica from up the street. So while I do believe in aliens, I do not believe that they are talking to anyone on Earth. And this can be proven esoterically, right? I have a video on Bashar and why I think Bashar is fake and how it can be proven using occultism. So, yeah, because we have methods in occultism to determine whether or not people are talking to real spirits. Because, of course, charlatanism, is not new. So there are methods to determine if people are actually engaging with any kind of otherworldly being. So imagine my shock that half of Christianity's saints were literally stolen. So many pagans. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Once they realized that they wouldn't, just coming in and knocking over the shrines and kicking down our statues is not going to really convert us. And then you can beat us and torture us, but it's not going to really convert us, right? They figure, okay, well, let's just take some of your gods and they're not demons, I guess, oh, we'll make them saints. So, they're not, angels or anything or gods, but they're saints. Hey, right? Good job. You're with us now, right? So, yeah. That was mainly in like Europe, though. There was some from South America, but that was really about it. What culture did you say Michael was from? Originally, Michael was from the Chaldeans. Michael is from the Chaldeans. Most of the main archangels are from the Chaldeans. Michael was worshipped as almost a god, so I would say maybe like a demigod or something like that. Michael was worshipped as something of almost a god, not necessarily a god. Like he didn't have like temples or anything to him, but he received much more veneration than a lesser being would have received. So yeah, he comes to us from the Chaldeans, and then he was taken over by the Jews, and then he was adopted by the Christians when they adopted much of the Jewish religion, and then of course Islam comes from the bosom of Abraham as well. So he was adopted there. The Hellenics do have him, but they pretty much give him what the Christians gave him. So yeah. Good evening. Hey, Jeff James. What's up? I had a feeling that angels didn't originate from Christianity. Yeah, no, they didn't. They were adopted into Christianity. They were adopted. Yeah, see, Christianity has an issue with lesser gods, right? They have an issue with little g gods because in okay, so Christianity and Hermeticism come from the same region of the world, so they're very close in what they believe in. But one of the areas that we do differ is the angels, because in Hermeticism we have the planets, right? And those planets represent certain energies. But in Christianity, at least when you look at it from an occult standpoint, the angels are associated with those planets and also represent those energies. And those angels are so high up that they are regents or the governors of these planets, basically the little g gods. The same thing that we would have, they're just called angels over there, and for us, they are the aeons. They are the spheres, the planetary spheres. These are the little g gods. So I don't know. It's very interesting when you look into the history of where the angels, come from. And I wish we could do the same with demons, right? Because while we know, well, we don't know, but while there's some evidence for a couple of them, like Astareth, Astarte, Baal, Baal, Asmodeus, Asmodee, okay, but that's really about it, right? There's a lot of people out there, mainly from the demonolator, Luciferian, Satanists, or I should say, theistic Satanists, Luciferian sort of communities that believe that a lot of the demons, especially from like the Goetia, are former deities, right? These are former pagan gods. And again, while there's some evidence for maybe 4 or 5 max of them, what about the rest? That still leaves. I mean, out of just the Goetia, that still leaves what, like 67 demons that are unaccounted for, right? Like what former god was Shax, right? What former god was Stolas or Simiges or Buer or Andras or Andromalius or anything, like who were these former gods that these demons became, right? Because it would have to be gods from the cultures that are around them. But when I do my research, I don't find anything that equates. I don't really find any sort of mythology or lore that would line up to equate. When we see the angels were ported over, a lot of their myths were ported over. It was just moved down a peg, right? Instead of the angels being equated to something as of gods, they were moved down a peg. You're not God. You might be powerful, but you're not God. You're lesser than God, and God is above you, and all of that. So if we have all that for angels, I would like to see the same thing for demons, but we don't have anything like that for demons, and that kind of sucks because I'm all about historical accuracy, and I would love to have proof to show these demonolators that not all the spirits or not all the demons, are former gods. Them are from Celtics, like bro. Huh? Oh, there's okay. I thought that was someone else's thing. Okay, even the saints, half of them are from Celtics. Yes, correct. It is not in a book. It's not in the knowledge book, if that's what you mean. It's not in the knowledge book. You have to die to see the truth. No astral projection, shamanic journeying, lucid dreaming. These are all ways to venture into different dimensions and realms, including various afterlife realms. Ayo, I have prophetic sight sometimes. That's normal, right? Well, what do you mean by prophetic sight? Do you mean that in like Christianity, like prophecy, like you lay your hands on someone and you give them a prophecy, and then they send you $20 for a prayer cloth, and then next thing you know, you have a private jet, but your church is so big you don't let people in when there's a flood? That kind of prophet? Or what do you mean? Christianity ended in 70 AD. Why? What do you mean? Why is that? I need help. I have been having the Illuminati attack me with magic and I don't know how to stop it. Well, I think the help you need might not be here. Um, there is no Illuminati and they don't do magic because they don't exist. So, wild blueberries are the Jesus Christ of fruit, enabling the body to resurrect out of chronic illness. Interesting. I thought you were going to go somewhere like comedic with that, but I'm glad it ended up with some actual holistic health information. Blueberries. It's funny you say that because I had some blueberries today. They gave me a fruit cup with my sandwich at work today. They were like, "Here, this fruit cup comes with it," and there were blueberries in there. I was like, "Oh, sweet, I guess." So I threw everything else out except the grapes and the blueberries. What are the actual repercussions of moving outside the circle? You open yourself up to the influence of the spirits, or the spirit, if there's only one spirit present. You become, how do I want to say this? So when you're going through, okay, so let's wind all the way back. Before you, well, maybe not before. It depends on what grimoire you're doing, but it's always a good idea to probably do it at the beginning. So when you're chanting the sacred names, right? When you're vibrating the sacred names of God, right? When you're doing all the intonement and the breathing, and you're invoking, the elements and the angels and all that other stuff. Some might have you count the rosary beads and all that. This is supposed to induce an altered state, right? And so when you're in this altered state, you are susceptible to outside influence because you're not fully in control. You are in control, but you don't have full control over the mental faculties and the energetic faculties. So the circle, amongst all the other things that it plays its part in, keeps negative energies and outside energies at bay through whatever sort of cosmological framework you're working in. Now, if you're coming from grimoire tradition, which I'm assuming you're asking from, your cosmological framework is outlined in your circle, right? All those names of God, all those angels, all those symbols, all of that outlines your place in the universe and where you stand and why you have the authority to be where you are. So all of that is your protection from the influence of the spirits. If you step outside of that, you are stepping outside of your cosmological framework. You are symbolically and physically stepping out of your cosmological framework. This opens you up to the influence of the spirit. So now you don't have that protection, right? Because that protection is contained inside the circle. It keeps energies out, but it also keeps energies in, right? So if you step outside of that, you don't have that protection. So you would need to either don't do that or have some additional protection measures going on, because you don't want that. That's why the circle is usually supposed to be 6 feet or bigger, 6, 9 to 12 feet, because a lot of grimoires assume it's not just you in the circle, there's multiple people, right? And those people should not be standing outside of the circle. They should be in the circle, so that way they're not open to the influence. There's actually, I'm not going to pretend like I've read every single grimoire under the sun, but of the grimoires that I have read, and it's several dozen, which in the world of grimoires is a lot when there's only a few hundred that are known. Several dozen is quite a bit. There's only one grimoire that I can think of that even would fathom allowing you to keep any of your assistants outside the circle. But this is strictly when the spirit is constrained to a triangle. Outside of that, if the spirit is left to roam free, you don't want anybody outside the circle, or they become open to the influence of the spirit. So, hopefully that answers your question. Because life suffers and dies, why deny a good overseer of life? What do you mean by that? Who is denying or defying a good overseer of life? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Lemuria is old age, like Atlantis, bro. Atlantis is not old age. What do you mean Atlantis is old age? During a ceremony to specify. Yes, I hope I answered your question. You mentioned occultists can verify if a person is speaking to spirits, observation or something else. Something else. So spirits have names. First, let's start there, right? Spirits have names. So within the occult, and okay, let me rewind. So spirits have names. Knowing the name of something gives us somewhat of a semblance of power over it, right? So the occult has taken that. I mean, this goes all the way back to Agrippa in his 3 books of occult philosophy, which is from the 1500s, which then he, of course, sourced from Marsilio Ficino, Giovanni Pico della Mirandola. These people came before. He was sourcing the Liber Gerardus from the 1300s, and all these other texts that are much older than him. But we get it from Agrippa in the 1500s. 1531, I believe, is when it was published, with the magic squares, also known as Kameas. And through these magic squares, we have developed a methodology to take the name of a spirit and to use magic squares, or in more modern times, the witch's wheel or the rose cross, which is my preferred method. We will use these methods to take the name of the spirit and create a sigil by connecting the letters of the name. Now, let me show you, so that way you have some sort of an idea of what I'm talking about. Let's see. I'll just do rose cross. So that way you see. Okay, here we go. Images. All right, perfect, and it's already showing. All right, let me make this a little bigger, and then I'll flip the camera. There. All right, so that's, these are examples of the rose cross, and as you can see, they're taking the letters and they're connecting it to the other letters, right? And once you're done connecting them, you should have some kind of an image. Here's the blue one down there is a good image of what maybe a finished seal could look like. And you would use that to contact the spirit. It would connect to the energy of each of the letters and form the energy of its name, and it would reach out and connect to the spirit. Using that, you would be able to, there we go. Using that, you would be able to contact the spirit, or not, and verify if it is valid. This is why, if you look in any of the grimoires that have spirits anyway, not every grimoire has a spirit list, but any sort of spirit catalog from Western esotericism, there's usually a sigil. Not all the time. Sometimes there's no sigils. Sometimes the sigils are corrupted because of copy errors. And then you have to rely on experts to restore them, or you can just make your own using, the planetary squares and stuff like that. But yeah, that's how we would do it. We would use a method of sigil creation. We would create a sigil of the spirit, and then we would use legitimate evocation methods or astral projection methods or whatever to contact the spirit, and hopefully the spirit that you claim to work with responds. Usually, if you're getting it from a dubious source, nothing responds. But yeah, that's how it's done. I think spirits are a kind of extraterrestrial. I mean, if we're going with just the literal definition of it, then yeah, since they're not from, this world, this planet, then technically yes. But in the way that we use extraterrestrial colloquially, no. Most people literally mean like aliens. Now, whether those aliens are coming in a spaceship or they're being channeled through the great master of the 16th dimension or anything like that, doesn't matter. They think that they're aliens rather than, just something not from here. Are we becoming little g gods when completing the great work? According to Hermeticism, yes. According to Hermeticism, every man and woman has the potential to become a son or a daughter of God. Jesus, and is the most popular to have done so, but others have done it. Hermes Trismegistus, Moses, Enoch, although he kind of cheated. He got kind of lucky. But Elijah, yeah, right? Or was it Aaron? No, Elijah. Yes, Elijah. Yes. I might be confusing him with someone else, but I think it was Elijah. But yes. Can you prove that this isn't anything more than fantasy? I already answered that earlier. I recently did origin study on Canaanite gods, Molech, Chemosh. Interesting. Really? Okay. And did you, what did you come up with? Shout out to King Pyman. He was not only Gotia, he is deep-seated into Middle Eastern jinn law. Oh, really? Interesting. I am not that familiar with jinn magic. I know a bit about jinn themselves, but not about the magic. I know a bit about demon bulls in the spiral script, but that's really about it. Can you talk about how to successfully evoke spirits not feeling the channel is open? Well, I'm biased because I'm grimoire tradition, so I'm biased to grimoire tradition. So that's the method that I go with to successfully evoke spirits. So for me, you would need either a table of practice, which eliminates your triangle and your circle, because it's built into one, like I have here. Here's my table of practice. Without this, you would need your own circle, which you would have to stand in. My 12-foot circle is over there in the closet, and a triangle, which I no longer have. Mine got ripped up, so I had to throw it out, and which is part of the reason why I decided to get that. Also, I didn't have space for a 12-foot circle, so. But yeah, you would have to have a circle, a triangle, a grimoire to work from. You would need spirit sigils. You would probably need some sort of protection measure other than the circle, like the Seal of Solomon or some of the pentacles found in the Key of Solomon, things like that. You would need to know how to properly get into an altered state of consciousness. You would need to know how to properly vibrate the sacred names of God. And you would need a scrying device, either a dark mirror or a black bowl of water or a glass sphere or obsidian sphere or something along those lines. And that should get you started. Do you believe we are the angels, perhaps? No, I do not believe we are angels. Do you have any experience with the lesser banishing ritual of the hexagram? I know of it, but I have not done it, no. How are you today, sir? I'm doing well. How are you, Wiccan? Welcome. Is this live? Yes, it is live. Peace, brother. Can you speak on the Watchers of the Book of Enoch and Orisha? Are they the same? I cannot say. I'm not familiar with the Orisha in any practical way. I'm sorry. I can guarantee even if there was an Illuminati, they wouldn't attack some rando with magic. Exactly. Saw your video about the guy and his alien girlfriend that you posted. Yeah, what's up with that guy? Like, I don't get that guy. And he really went on Gaia, and when I first saw it, honestly, their body language made it seem like a sketch. Like I felt like I was watching and I'm not trying to be mean because it's on Gaia, because I've seen a lot of stuff on Gaia and I don't think that about any of the other stuff. I think a lot of those people really do believe that, but that one, not only, but the host even seemed like it was okay. Do you know who Caleb Presley is? Right, he's like I don't know if he is a comedian, but he does like comedy on TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that. He was the guy that interviewed Drake's son and it was on here. It was all big, and he was the one that interviewed Kodak Black, and my name Kodak Black, and I'm your way, like that whole thing. Yeah, that was from him. Anyway, he does stuff like that, right? Like he is trying to be funny, but he doesn't laugh, right? And he doesn't do anything funny, but it's just the things he says and how he says them, like the questions he asks, is supposed to be funny. That's exactly what that guy was doing. So, but it was on Gaia. So I'm like, Gaia doesn't do sketch comedy. So this is serious. But like the body language, it was like, this has to be a joke. But no, it was on Gaia. So I'm like, I mean, unless Gaia is diving into new age comedy, which no one is going to get into, not even the new agers. I think even that will be crickets in the room. Yeah. So I don't know what's up with that guy. There are people on here that you can pay to send out curses to someone you don't like. Well, there's a lot of people who claim to be able to do so. Very few can actually do so. But yeah, there's a lot of people who claim to do so. Where can one learn more of cosmological framework? I'm interested in assisting an atheist. Well, I can only point you on how to get more from mine. I couldn't tell you where to go to get like a Buddhist framework or anything like that. But for a Hermetic framework, you'd want to look into the Corpus Hermeticum. The Divine Pymander is probably what you want to look into. Read through there, and that'll give you our cosmological framework. Or you can just get Hermetic Magic by Stephen Flowers, and he has a chapter on cosmology, and you can go from there. But for like Muslim cosmology or anything like that, you'd have to find an expert on those religions or Google it or something like that. I can only tell you from the Hermetic perspective. I don't believe in curses. Would it still work if someone did that to me? It should, yeah. Your belief has nothing to do with it. In your experience, do you find crystals have noticeable effects on your energies? No. Crystals only serve three purposes. They are storage, uh, places, storage holders or whatever, storage bins, I don't know, storage. They are batteries and they are amplifiers. That's it. Storage, batteries, amplifiers. That is it. I can see how an atheist or someone with weak faith would be open to so many things. Well, yeah, I guess if you don't know what you believe, I guess you'll be, you'll be able to believe anything. You'll be able to believe anything. But yeah, that's the rose cross. Saw your video. Oh, I already read that. Where can one learn? I already read that. How? What's the word? Accident. I can see how. I already read that. Here we go. Who is Samael? Samael is the angel of death, I believe, if I recall correctly. I've not worked with Samael, but I believe he's the yeah, yes. How can I activate myself to a higher dimension of good? I don't know. That's a new age thing. We don't do anything like that in the occult. That's a new age thing. When you do a curse or bad magic, what source is it coming from? Satan? No. That's up to you. I mean, it could come from Satan if you want it to, if you decide to work with Satan. It could come from you and purely you. You can raise the energy yourself, but most people follow us. Well, I won't say most people. It's probably pretty equal. Spirit model versus psych sorcery based model. But you can do it yourself, or you could have a spirit do it. It can be any kind of spirit that's willing to do malefic work. Most people would go after a demon, or maybe a spirit of the dead, or an angry genius Loki or something like that. But no, it does. It's very rarely Satan. Why were letters and names so important? I've learned that they are absolutely, or excuse me, I learned that they absolutely are, but why? I actually don't know the reason why names are so important. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, Jeff. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I heard you say there's a difference between New Age and occult. Can you explain this further? Yeah, so the New Age is watered down occultism, right? It takes elements from the occult and from different religions and systems, mainly from the East: Buddhism, Shinto, Taoism, Java, the Hindus. It takes, bits and pieces from there, and from some occult things like Kabbalah and astrology and tarot and things like that, and it waters it down and it repackages it and sells it to the masses as if it's the original, right? And it's not, right? Most of the New Age is supplementary practices that they've turned into core practices. Or maybe a better way to say it is they've taken the sides, right? Like when you go out to eat, you order a meal, usually your meal comes with the side, right? They've turned the sides into the whole meal, right? It's one thing to use an appetizer as a meal, but I don't think anybody would, a side of fries as a meal, right? But that's what they're doing, right? They're saying that this side of fries is your entire fish dinner or your entire steak dinner or whatever. And it's not. These are just fries, and they should be treated as such, right? Where's the rest of it, right? Where's my protein, and where's the rest of my meal? The New Age wants you to think that you're paying full price for fries, right? You're paying for the whole meal, but all you're getting is fries. But they want you to think that the fries is the entire meal, and to be happy with that. And that's not the case. Most of the practices that the New Age engages in, and most of the beliefs that they espouse, right, do have legitimate sources. Not all of them, but a lot of them do have legitimate sources. The problem is it's been watered down to the point where no one in the New Age would be able to tell you, right, the origin of whatever it is that they believe. And that's important because if you don't know where you came from, then you really don't know, right? You can say that you know, but if you sat down and really asked yourself, you don't know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And therefore, you're not going to know how to take your practice into the future. You're not going to know how to have your practice evolve as things change, right? And it's not just going with the wind, right? You should stay true to your practice as long as, new truths haven't been uncovered that disprove your practice. You should stay true to your practice and to what you believe, but it should evolve and move into the future. And you wouldn't know how to do that if you don't know what you're doing now because you don't know where you came from. And that's the problem with the occult. With the New Age. Most New Agers have no idea that most of their practices come from theosophy, right? And that theosophy stole from a bunch of other things and didn't give credit, there's no sort of reference in any sort of theosophical book to anything prior to it other than like Buddhist stuff. It doesn't give reference to the Hermetic stuff and the Kabbalistic stuff that it pulls from, the Typhonian stuff that it pulls from, right? It doesn't give credence to the Saturnian stuff that it pulls from. And it doesn't tell you that it itself comes out of the New Thought movement, which comes out of Christian Science. There's no timeline, right? It's just a bunch of mishmash pulled from everywhere and thrown into a pot and stirred up and served back to you as a religion, or as like a fully fledged spiritual system. When in reality, it's a stew. It's a bunch of pieces pulled from everywhere, and that doesn't work. When especially a lot of the pieces that it pulls from aren't even compatible, right? It's not even syncretic. It's more of an eclectic system than a syncretic system. And I think a lot of people in our modern spiritual world have confused eclecticism with syncretism. They think that it's the same thing, and it's not. Syncretism, everything works, everything flows together. It's a circuit, right? It's a complete circuit. Whereas eclecticism is a mess. It's a messy room, right? It's chaotic, and that's a problem. In the occult, in contrast, we know where we come from, right? Most occultists can trace their practice back centuries, right? Earlier, I talked about the 3 books of occult philosophy and how that comes from the 1500s. And then I mentioned how it sources books prior to it, right? From the 1300s and prior. This establishes a continuous timeline of practices and work that has been implemented and utilized and commented on and improved upon over the centuries. The New Age can't say the same thing, like not even a little bit. So hopefully that explains it. You know anything about Zoroastrianism? Not much. Not much. Enoch translated Elijah chariot escape. So I was right. It was Elijah. Okay. Can these entities provide you with mega million numbers? No. If they did, I would not be here. I would be on a yacht. Or if I was still here, if I was still alive, we'd be on my yacht right now. I'd be doing what Tom Cruise does. Not the actor Tom Cruise. There's a guy on here, Tom Cruise, and he's spelled Cruz. He's a young real estate guy who's like always on his yacht and like always somewhere around the world showing off his lifestyle. I'd be doing that. I'd be doing the Dan Bazarian thing if anybody remembers, before Andrew Tate, it was Dan. It's just Dan wasn't going in the media saying things. He was just showing his muscles and his hot chicks and his money. But I be doing the Dan Bazarian thing, but I'm not because it's not possible. Greetings, hey Dr. Mama, what's up? I think spirits are manifestations of psychic energy we created collectively throughout history. So that can be egregores, sure. Egregores and thought forms and servitors can certainly be formed in that way. And there are certainly quite a few beings out there that have become veritable entities in their own right, but were created by the collective psychic energy. This is what chaos magicians try to tap into, right? Which is what I really don't like. But it's not any less valid than anything that I do. It's just not something that I agree with. But that's what they're doing when they are using an evocation ritual and they're evoking Pinocchio, right? Or they're calling on Yu-Gi-Oh and the Blue Eyes White Dragon to curse their enemies, or they're summoning Goku and whatever to protect them, right? Rather than going to the angels or to the elementals or an aerial spirit or something like that. That's what the Chaotes would claim to be tapping into. Hey, thank you for the microphone. The collective psychic energy that millions, if not billions, of people have given over to these fictional entities, right? Superman and Batman, right? By this time, billions of people over the comic books, over the video games, over the movies, over the TV shows, over the cartoons would have thought about or mentioned or given energy to the thought of a Batman or a Superman. So the Chaotes tap into that. And they're like, well, there's a billion people who think about this entity, so, or this thing, and it would create an entity, so therefore I'm going to tap into that and use Superman to protect me. I don't agree with it. It's not my thing, but a lot of people do. So, the fallen angels are the pharaohs, Zoroastrian pureblood. Interesting. I think I'm a victim of what? What do you think you're a victim of? What is astral projection? Well, you didn't finish what you thought you were a victim of. But astral projection, well, according to my latest video that I just put out, and John Ramirez, astral projection is when you are using demonic powers to leave your body and put curses on the land. Ooh. Yeah, no. Astral projection is not that. Sorry, John Ramirez, and your evangelical nonsense. Astral projection is simply using the light body, the astral body, or the spirit body to leave the physical body and traverse the unseen realms or the astral plane, which is connected to basically every realm known to man. Bruh, Gaia is definitely diving into new age comedy. Well, I need to get a subscription then, because that would be some awesome stuff to debunk. Do you work with the Infernal Divine? No, and I find that term Infernal Divine a little interesting. Hermetic Magic was an amazing book. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Do you believe carbonated beings on planet Key are the gods? I don't know what planet Key is. I've never heard of that, so probably not. Stephen Flowers' book Lords of the Left-Hand Path was a good read too. Yes, that is a good book. Although I thought it was going to be different. I won't lie. I thought that book was going to be about something else, but it wasn't, and that's okay. It was still a good read. But how do you know if you're cursed? The best thing to do, in my opinion, is just to get a reading done. Some practitioners will tell you to look at some things going on in your life, but those things could just be a result of bad choices you made, or bad choices someone else made, or it doesn't always have to be a curse or something, someone being out to get you in a magical sense, right? So the best way to determine if you are cursed or not is get a reading done by a competent practitioner. What's the red banner depicting in your background? This is Lucifuge Rofacal. He is the demon found within the Grand Grimoire, or the Red Dragon. He's the demon that comes. I got this partially as a mockery of what's his name? The guy, he's on my page. I stitched him like three or four times, and he responded too. The something Eli or Eli something or something like that. He was going around last summer, like last spring and summer. He was going around TikTok talking about he's going to expose the witches and prove magic and demons aren't real, right? And I had stitched a lot of his videos because in one of his videos, he had claimed to try to summon the devil to sell his soul and it didn't work. And therefore, he concluded that magic and demons are not real. So I was like, all right, I know your audience doesn't know to ask these questions. They're just going to assume that you did it, right? So I'm going to ask the question that no one else in your audience knows to ask. What grimoire, like, what method did you use to summon the devil, right? Like, there's a way to summon the devil. How did you? And that method must come from the region that the devil comes from, because there is no, well, there is a devil in other cultures, but not in the same way the devil is in Christianity. So we would have to use methods from that region, right? We can't use a Hindu method to contact a Christian or an Abrahamic, or let's say a Mediterranean spirit, right? Just like I wouldn't use, Celtic methods to contact a voodoo spirit. So I asked him what method he used. He responded by saying, well, as you know, it's hard to come across authentic grimoires. It's not. You just don't know where to look. It's literally a Google search away. It's not some secret, shh, don't tell anybody, No, it's literally a Google search away. It's not hard. You just don't know what you're looking for. It's fine, but it's not hard. But I use the Grand Grimoire. Okay, so I was like, all right, his audience doesn't know to ask these questions because they're just going to assume he used the Grand Grimoire, right? His audience has no idea that the Grand Grimoire doesn't summon the devil. It summons Lucifuge Occult. And it requires a little more than I think most people who aren't already occultists are willing to do in order to get, whatever it is that they're after. It requires you to buy a baby goat without haggling, and then you have to sacrifice that baby goat. Okay, some people might not have a problem with that. A lot of people would, but some people be like, all right, I'll kill a goat, whatever. But then you have to skin the goat, and then you have to tan the skin and dry it out and all this other stuff and turn that into vellum, which is paper made out of animal skin. I doubt that not only does he know how to do that, that he's willing to do that, right? You can shoot, the goat and call it a day, right? But to skin it is up close and personal and very messy, and I don't think he is willing to go through all of that to sell his soul. And even if he was, I doubt he knows how to make vellum. That's not a skill that's one of those skills that you would see on like those shows about jobs, right? Like Rust Valley Restorers or Iron Kings, or where they make the weapons and stuff like that. Those types of shows. That's a job. That's a skill that would be on a show like that no one has, and you could only find at the Renaissance Fair. Like it would be that kind of skill. No one is out here making vellum, right? Like, so that's not a skill that the average guy has. So yeah, I doubt that he. So part of the reason I got that was to make fun of him. So yeah. Which grimoire would you consider to be the most beginner friendly to work out of? The most beginner friendly? Okay. So what do you mean by beginner friendly? Like, do you mean like it's lax in its requirement for tools, or it's lax in its requirements for piety? It's lax in its requirements for, abstinence. It's lax in its requirements for idle talk and chatter, because some grimoires have all those things, right? But some are lax in some things, but not lax in others, right? So what do you like? What is beginner friendly to you? Because I would say the Arbitel is extremely beginner friendly because you don't need much of anything, right? You don't need to go out and spend $400 on a circle and $100 on a triangle, and $80 per seal and all this other stuff, because it's got to be on the right type of metal and all this other stuff. And the only person to buy it from is Athena from Enochian.org. Like, you don't have to go through all that. The Arbitel really only requires piety, right? But there's certain things that you have to do, which you might already do, right? Like, one of the things is you have to wake up every day at sunrise. Well, what if you work the night shift, right? Now you only get 2 hours of sleep, and then you got to wake up every day to do this grimoire. Like, sometimes it might not be practical. So it depends on what you mean by beginner friendly. But the Arbitel, the Heptameron, my favorite grimoire, the Black Dragon, practical. The Virum is pretty practical. No, nah. I mean, nah, they're not. I mean, if you believe in the paper method, they are, but I don't. So I'm not gonna recommend them. So never mind. So yeah, those are good beginner books. Those are good beginner books. All right. So I got about 15 minutes left on here. I'm about 50 questions behind. So let me scroll up a bit here. If I skip your question, ask it again, because I'm skipping up so I can catch up before I hop off of here. Let's skip to about 10. So we're going to skip 40 questions here. We're going to skip up to 10. All right. Satan tempting Christ. Oops, move my face. Satan tempting Christ, God, Luke 4-6. Hey, thank you for that. Thanks for that Bible verse. Will give you all this domain and glory. You will? Well, thanks, man. Thank you. I didn't even ask you for anything. I cringe whenever I hear infernal divine, honestly. Yeah, I don't give any credence to that. Pronounce planet Kai. I don't know what that is. Wait a minute. Isn't that the Dragon Ball Z thing? Isn't that what that is? Why do you define the term infernal divine as interesting? Well, because those two terms are opposite of each other, right? If you're infernal, you wouldn't be divine. Divine would be celestial. If you're celestial, you're of the heavens. Now, that doesn't mean that the infernals are any less godly, and I don't mean godly in the Christian Abrahamic way. I mean godly as in, they're not gods, but divine denotes celestialness. And the infernals would not be that. To be an infernal would be the opposite of divine. So Kai is in Gaia. Ethan. Oh, the guy. Yes, Ethan. I said Eli. Yes, Ethan. Ethan Kaiser. Yes, Ethan Kaiser. Ethan Kaiser. That was his name. Thank you. Thank you, the corporate hermeticist. Thank you very much. How do you vet a competent practitioner to do a reading? Honestly, without being a practitioner or extremely studious yourself, and just having the experience to know what to look for. Like, for me, it's certain things that they say on their websites, right? Like, it's certain trigger words, even if they don't mean it that way. I take it that way. Like, if they use certain new age words, even if it's just like a marketing thing, like just to get in, just to get the new agers to come to your site and buy, like it's an SEO thing. For me, that's a turnoff. So even they might be legit and they're just doing it as an SEO play, but so, without having the knowledge, you just have to do your research. I mean, unless you want to question them, but then, they're probably not going to sit there and just respond to all your emails, questioning their practice and their knowledge and things like that. So yeah, you would probably just do your research. The one thing that I can say, is there is the Independent Readers and Root Workers Association. It is independent, so it's not like an official governing body. But for people in the conjure and the hoodoo community, this is like a town center, right? for various practitioners to come to and offer their services, you can visit their website. It's the Independent Association of Readers and Root Workers. Visit their website. It's the AIRR, something like that. So I think it's Association of Independent Readers and Root Workers. I think that's what it's called. You can look into that. I can show you their website if you want. Association of Independent, not Methodist schools, readers and root workers. There we go. So first let me go back to the search and show you what I searched. And let me make, not that, there we go. Let's make it big like that. And flip camera. So, Association of Independent Readers and Root Workers. So you click on that, and there's a bunch of offerings that they have here on both sides. You can, and if you're looking for a reading, you would just go down to so like that's palm readings there, astrology. You know, they got, let's see, you probably want like a tarot reading or something like that. So you just find that in here, and then once you find it, you would click on it. So, you know, like this person here is offering scry, or these people here offer scrying. So then you would scroll down, and it tells you at the bottom the people who offer it. And then he's good. I know him personally. Someone had asked earlier, some legit people. I know this guy personally, ConjureMan Ali. I don't know anybody else on here though. But yeah, the people who do whatever it is that you're looking for will be all the way at the bottom after it's done describing, you know, what the practice is and all that in like a Wikipedia style format. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, and it has the people who do it. And then you would just click on the person you want. It'll, well, he's not available, so that's not a good example. What about this person? All right, yeah, so it gives you a picture and then a description, and then it'll give their rates and all that good stuff, what they do and all that. So that's the only place that I know, if you're like looking to like vet people, this is the only place that I know of. Any other vetting would have to come from yourself. So there we go. Oops. There we go. There we go. You can write a movie script on demons and magic, very intellectual stuff. I actually am, actually. I have a Enochian script going. It's a script about Enochian base magic. I got a question to an occultist. Please answer if you could with all you know. Yeah, sure. Throw it in the chat. We still got a few minutes left on here. Throw it in the chat. As a beginner, where should I start as a beginner in the occult? I have a video on getting started with the occult. Click on my my playlist on my page, the Getting Started with Occultism playlist. There's a couple of videos in there that can help you out. I give book recommendations. I give practice recommendations. So check that out. I feel like some of these lessons pertain to certain individuals. Lessons, Patreon, let's go. Yeah, I still don't know like what I would offer on a Patreon that's worth paying for. Why is this like crooked? Whatever. I don't care. Whatever. I'm only here for 6 more minutes. It's difficult to acknowledge the occult powers without acknowledging the good creator, which is why I am a hermeticist. Africa is the foundation of all occult practices. I don't agree with that, but it is a foundation for a lot of occult practices, especially mine. But I wouldn't say all occult practices. What's your opinion of God's spouse? Just heard about it. No. Nope. No such thing. It's all ego. Do you know anything about Abaddon? Not much. I've not really done anything with Abaddon. Great answer on the Inferno and Divine. Not that you need to hear it. Yeah, I mean, it's fine if other people want to do it. I'm not into it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Just like demonolatry doesn't make any sense to me. Like, but people will do as they will. Animism is the foundation of all occult. You guys are getting closer. Shamanism. Okay. I guess you are right. Ilalia. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Technically, shamanism is animistic, so you are correct. Yes, but if we're going to boil it down to a specific practice, it would be shamanism would be the foundation of all occultism. Hey, Mystic, have fun with the remainder of your live stream. Thank you very much. It's only going to be a few more minutes, about five more minutes here, and then I'm getting off. What's your opinion of tarot cards? They're great. I've got a bunch of tarot cards. I've got a bunch. They're great. I don't have an issue with tarot cards. I have an issue when people come on this app and they give you speed readings, right? Like there's 800 people in the chat and 200 of them are commenting, and it's all, my name is John, is my wife going to break up with me, and my name is Sue, should I take the trip? And then they're just like, yes, John, marry her. No, Sue, don't take the trip. Kevin, watch out for flying ducks. Billy, it's like that's not how readings are done. You don't just shuffle the deck and just start naming people and grabbing cards. Like, that's not, like, what? So that's nonsense, but tarot cards in and of themselves are not nonsense. Bruh, you have lessons I heard you speak about in YouTube videos. Let's go. Yes, I do have courses that have not been recorded. But if I have a course, I would just sell the course, right? I wouldn't do like a Patreon for the course. You would just pay the full price for the course. But I don't know. Maybe I'll find something to be able to put into like a Patreon. Abaddon reached to me in a dream, which is why I asked, how should I proceed? Divination. So divination should be like the thing you do for almost anything in your occult practice, right? If you are reading a spell book and you find a spell that corresponds to something that you want to do, and so you're like, all right, well, I'll do this spell, but it requires ingredients or things that you don't have, and you want to swap them out and you don't know what to swap it out with, do a divination. If you want to know if you should curse this person, but you don't know if they have friends or family or loved ones, or if they themselves practice, how should you proceed? Do a divination. If you think you're cursed, do a divination. If you think a spirit is reaching out to you, do a divination. If you there's just do a divination for pretty much anything. Just do a divination. That's what it's there for. Unless they are lying, using the cards unless they are only using the cards as props. Some folks are so dependent on cards. Well, yeah, but also even like the intuitive stuff doesn't happen like that. You wouldn't be able to speed through intuitive readings. So, Shamanic Kabbalah is a good book. Yes, it is, by Daniel Moller, perhaps. In Debo voice, stop being a bitch and come on. How do you start? I have a video on that. I have a few videos on that. Click on my page and click on the playlist, Getting Started with Occultism, or How to Get Started with Occultism, something like that. Everything is basically scrying. Well, I mean, I can. Would you be able to elaborate on that a bit more? I think I see where you're coming from, but maybe confirm for me. We only got a minute left, so. I have a hard time weeding through the junk, but would like to read real esoteric practices. Well, I have 4 videos on book recommendations that you can look through. You can join the Discord. We have a library in the Discord. You can read through some of the books there. You can visit websites like esotericarchives.com. which has pretty much all of the Renaissance and medieval occult texts that have been found, at least, and are in the public domain. You can go to sacredtext.com. You can go to grimoire.cz. These are all sites that host legitimate esoteric and occult texts. So, all right, 10:30. I'll get through these last couple questions here, then I'm hopping off. There are many forms of divination. Yes, there are. Which should I try as a total beginner? I'm partial to tarot and scrying. Those are pretty beginner friendly, but also runes, owam, bone throwing, bone casting, shell casting like cowrie shells, things like that. Never ask a direct question when using tarot. I actually do exactly that, and that's how I was taught. The coven that brought me in. When things are too vague and too open and too ambiguous, it's hard to pinpoint and it's hard to interpret. And that's why people are getting a reading, or that's why you are doing a reading to get answers. And when things are vague and open, it becomes hard to give an answer. There's a lot of responses, but which one is the answer? So, are you still working out Earth? What does that mean? Am I still working out Earth? Do you mean like elemental initiations? I've completed all elemental that was years ago. It's the planetary ones that I'm still going through. I've only gone through 3, and I probably won't be going through any more. But what do you mean? Am I still working out Earth? I ask questions. That's cool. Nothing wrong with that. Favorite magic system? It depends on what it's for. My magic systems are compartmentalized. So grimoire tradition for spirit work, for spirit contact, unless it's ancestors or the dead, then we go to hoodoo. But spirit work is grimoire tradition. Spell casting, depending on what it is either going to be hoodoo or witchcraft. If I need to do any energy work, I guess I'll call it, I'll dive into shamanism and my shamanic training, and that's really about it. Those are the practices that I came up in. Other than Grimtrad, that one came later, but I came up in witchcraft and shamanism and hoodoo. So, do you believe the government docs on astral projection? Depends on which ones you're talking about. The only ones that I know of, yes, but. Or wait, no, it's not on astral projection. It's on what's the fake version of scrying? Remote viewing. It's on remote viewing, and I do believe it because they concluded that it doesn't work. And you don't have to believe me. We read it live, like we looked at it live, and I did exactly what I did here with other things. I took the camera and I showed it on screen. And not only that, I upload a lot of my lives to my YouTube channel, and that one is on there. So we read it live directly from the government, and we read the file, and it's right there on page 2. It gives the final analysis. You don't got to read through the whole thing to get to the analysis. It's right there on page 2, the analysis. And it says, while we did do it, yes, we did engage in the remote viewing. Yes, we did it, right? And that's what everyone freaks out about. Oh my God, they did it. No one knows they did it. Yes, they did it. But did you actually read the thing, or did you just watch a YouTube video? And not you, Rick Bang. I'm talking about other people. Or did you just watch a YouTube video and some guy told you, right? Because we read it. And on page 2 through page 4, the analysis says, yeah, we did it. But we came to the conclusion after all these different variables and all this other stuff that it's not viable. We're not going to waste any more taxpayer money on this, so we're done. And then they went and outlined everything that they did. Like the rest of the however many pages it was, I forget, was the actual experiments that they carried out. But they started out with the analysis, which I appreciated because then it meant I didn't have to sit here and scroll through 200 pages. It got me right to where I wanted to go. And I was like, all right, well, it's bullcrap. But, all right. So that's it. Sorry guys, I'm not gonna be answering any more questions. I gotta hop off of here. So I'm gonna hop off for the evening. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. Be sure to follow me and check out my YouTube, also under The Mystical Rebel, and check out my website, themysticalrebel.com. And I should be live again tomorrow evening with Alchemic Mason. We go live every Wednesday to discuss Hermeticism. So if you have an interest in Greco-Egyptian theology, cosmology, theogony, cosmogony, or just philosophy from a Greco-Egyptian standpoint, of course, please do join us tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, from about 9 to 11. We should be doing a Hermeticism chat. 9 Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So, all right. Thank you, Jeff. Love you guys too. Enjoy the rest of your night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. As always, seek the mysteries. Peace.